Greetings, theists and non-theists. I'm the Atheist Paladin. I'm going to rebut Jack's latest video on how he tries to throw away the burden of proof and try to make the lack of a belief that atheism is appear no different than not believing God exists, or believing God does not exist, and trying to confuse those propositions up. I guess he just got a random bug up his butt about something, but I'm going to reply to this, and we'll see how well he argues.
Coming at you once again. This time I would like to talk with you about how some atheists go about describing atheism in terms of how they lack a belief in God. Now, how many times have we heard some atheists say something to the effect of, if God was really a God of X, then he would do Y. Or, if God was real, then God would do Y or be X. It's clear these people have some concept in their mind regarding who or what God should be like. Many of these very same people will say they lack a belief in God. Think about this for a moment.
Okay, now why do we do that? Because we get this concept from you, Jack. You tell us that God is X, namely all-powerful, and also Y, all-loving, and we actually try to follow these conclusions all the way through. This is how we get to this, and this is why we don't believe that God exists. We don't have any reason to believe that God exists, simply because the description that you gave and the properties of this God that you've given us is simply it doesn't line up. It doesn't add up. And so, what's there to believe?
They have a concept in their mind regarding who God is and what God should do or be if there was a God, but they lack a belief in God. So you lack a belief in God, but have enough of an understanding about this God that you lack a belief in to talk about how you think this God that you lack a belief in should be like if you believed in the God that you lack a belief in, right?
Again, this concept you gave us. If you don't give us a concept of a God at all, then what's there to argue about? Again, I mean, if you don't provide sufficient evidence for us to believe, then what is there to believe?
But it doesn't stop there. Think about any other situation or context in which we say we lack a belief in something in normal conversation. I can't think of any. If you can, let me know. I can lack strength, I can lack integrity or clarity, but lack a belief? It's like, hey man, there's some belief out there that you don't know about, which is why you lack that belief. But wait, doesn't that mean the moment you know about that belief, you aren't lacking it anymore? You are rejecting it or accepting it or possibly suspending the belief in some way, but you certainly aren't lacking a belief anymore.
Okay, what is the relevance of saying that you can't think of any other context to which you're lacking a belief in? An everyday conversation. How is that relevant at all? I mean, if you're really going to go down that route, then what about God? He's described as lacking the properties of normal time and matter and things that we cannot talk about or comprehend in any reasonable shape or form. The hypocrisy is overwhelming.
Can't even think of any other group out there that goes about labeling themselves by what they lack. Now, I could be...
So what? Moving on.
...completely wrong on this point. If so, just let me know. Now, some folks may say, Jack, well, theists are in the majority, and this is why we had to come up with this label. And yes, I understand. We all go about labeling each other. But when I say that someone is an atheist, what I'm saying is they don't believe in God. They believe there is no God. Can it be said they lack a belief in God? Sure. But this is just another way for a person to say, I don't believe in God, or I believe there is no God.
No. They're quite different. To lack a belief of God makes no claim of certainty. None whatsoever. But to believe that there is no God is quite different. That is more of an affirmative position. So, in that sense, you have to be more certain and use a more robust position, I would suppose, in order to support that. Quite different, I assure you.
Many atheists hold on to this whole lack of belief thing, not because it makes any sense to say it, because, well, it doesn't in terms of everyday conversation.
Oh, what? So now you, instead of actually dealing with what it is, now you're ascribing motives to us atheists that actually hold to this position, rather than just simply dealing with it, as if that has any meaning.
They do it because they think that somehow talking about what they lack in terms of belief shifts some created notion of burden of proof upon the other person who's making some...
No, it doesn't shift the burden of proof. It only demonstrates how it actually works in the first place.
Positive assertion or claim. Listening to some atheists talk about this burden of proof, you'd think it's some living external thing to us all or something.
No, Jack, only you think of that way. Nobody else. The burden of proof, all it really is a solid ground of either accepting a claim or denying it, or just not accepting it. So if you don't forward your position correctly, if you don't provide logical reasons and evidence for your position, then you fail. That's how arguments work. That's what the burden of proof is. You fail to meet the challenge of actually proving your point, and then your point doesn't get believed. That's it. That's the burden of proof. That's it.
Like, hey, Jack, the burden of proof is on you. Like, where is it? Where's this burden of proof?
It's on you if you want us to get to believe that there is a God. But if you don't want to get us to believe in a God, then quit trying to get us to believe in it. How hard is that? I mean, if you don't want the burden of proof, then quit trying us to get to believe in something.
Okay, so look, burden of proof, wherever you are, whatever you are, I want you to show up and give me this special insight that you've given so many of these atheists regarding how you work. I want to know, burden of proof, the criteria you have for deciding which person is going to have you for their burden. Better yet, all you atheists who are making this positive assertion, this claim regarding burden of proof, I would like some empirical evidence that backs you up, that backs up this claim that you're making.
Now you're getting really silly. So you want us to forward the evidence about the burden of proof. And congratulations, Jack, you've just proven it. You are now using the burden of proof in order to set the burden of proof. This is what we call a self-affirming principle. And someone who's studied philosophy for so long should know this by now.
Perhaps I just lack a belief in the burden of proof, possibly.
Right.
Can you imagine
You just affirmed it.
Talking in this way, how we lack beliefs and things like this? I don't think much would get accomplished. So it's clear that there's an agenda behind.
And what have you accomplished in this video? Nothing.
And why some of these atheists say they lack a belief in God. It's not to be more clear and precise. It's to try and shift some burden of proof that they have in their mind.
Again, it's an ad hominem. You're not really dealing with the argument. You're now subscribing some sort of suspicious motive to the person of trying to dodge something where there is nothing to dodge. You want us to believe in a God? Then bring forth your evidence and reason. That's all there is to it.
That they've created, and they have some idea about how it should function. I'd like some empirical evidence to back up this claim regarding how the burden
self-affirming. You're affirming it right there.
Is functioning for us all, or how it should function for us all in the same way. Anyways, y'all take care. Peace be with you. I look forward to seeing the comments and courteous video responses, of course.
I don't think there's nothing more left to say with that. I think that was quite a ridiculous show.